A Republican counteroffer when you can receive your next stimulus check, and an update on $15 an hour. Welcome back everyone to your stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. I hope you guys have been well. And in this video, we have to cover this comedic Republican counter proposal to the Biden nearly $2 trillion stimulus package. It's rather funny. We're going to be covering it in just a moment. And we're also going to be talking about the $15 an hour and what's going on with that, and a hypothetical timeline for you to receive your next stimulus check of $1,400. And before we can talk about stimulus, we have to talk about you guys stimulating that like button. Make sure that you do smash the like button for me. I would greatly appreciate that. Just will help with that YouTube algorithm, send a message to the YouTube gods. So just go ahead and click that like button. It would support me and my channel. And if you'd like to see more content from my channel, I do post videos every single solitary day, no exceptions and no excuses. Make sure you are subscribed. Click that big red button. Also click the notification bell as well. That will actually notify you when I do post a brand new video. You're not going to miss anything. The news is constantly changing, constantly cycling. So you're going to want to stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed and notifications are turned on. So let's dive right in. So let's first discuss this humorous counter idea from a Republican representative. This was essentially a last-ditch effort in response to the fact that the House of Representatives had passed the nearly $2 trillion stimulus bill. Arizona Republican Representative Paul Gosar, he submitted this amendment that slashed non-relief spending and instead offered a $10,000 stimulus check. In this statement to Fox News over the weekend, he was noticeably frustrated and believed that this stimulus bill is a liberal, Democratic wish list. He had said, quote, "I offered an amendment to prioritize $10,000 stimulus checks to Americans most affected by COVID-19 and lockdowns. Instead, Democrats chose foreign aid, big tech, transit, and Pelosi's political priorities over direct relief to American citizens." The representative's amendment called for the removal of 10 agenda items out of the American Rescue Plan's more than 200 sections, including funding for the arts, federal and corporate transit projects, quote, vaccine confidence activities, and foreign aid. It was done in jest. It wasn't necessarily sincere, and it was more so an attempt to show that by removing non-COVID related funding, Congress would be able to provide substantially more cash in hand for the U.S.'s most financially vulnerable. And quote, "People need help with car payments, mortgage and rent, and everyday necessities," he had said. Quote, "The government broke it, now government must fix it. The people, not corporations or billionaires, need this money to survive." And he said that a $10,000 stimulus check should be considered still, quote, a down payment. Of course, the amendment was a non-starter with Democrats. It was in no way, shape, or form found in the House's version of the stimulus package. Not surprising at all, but it just goes to show you and highlights the fact that by slashing some of the funding, and perhaps we don't need every single penny spent in certain areas, you can in fact provide more direct relief to Americans. He, among all Republican lawmakers, voted against the fiscal package, and he had said that it was mainly due to the fact that there's a ton of non-coronavirus related spending in this bill. All theoretical, but I am curious, would you be in favor of a stimulus package that if you were to actually take away all of the funding and earmarked money from all the other various areas and simply just provide a $10,000 stimulus check to the American people? But remember, you're not going to have any other funding towards any other areas. Would you be in favor of this? I know as an American, it's quite easy to say yes. And according to this lawmaker, that would only be for people that are very low income earners and some of the lowest income earning people in America. But would you be in favor of a $10,000 stimulus check if you said no to any of the funding? What are your thoughts on this idea? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you think. So now let's discuss the 411, the latest on the $15 an hour minimum wage hike. So if you don't remember, the Senate had ruled that it cannot be included in the stimulus package under the reconciliation process. It does not meet the requirements. It is not allowed. That is what essentially the Congress's referee had ruled. You cannot have that in there. But Democrats, mainly some progressives like Senator Bernie Sanders, and also House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, had vowed that they are going to continue the fight and push for $15 an hour. If not directly, if not make it a direct provision, rather incentivize and penalize businesses and large corporations that do not pay a living wage. But now, according to these two sources that are familiar with the internal deliberations, senior Democrats are now abandoning a backup plan to increase the minimum wage through a corporate tax penalty after they encountered numerous practical and political challenges in drafting their proposal over the weekend. So after that ruling that the Senate had said that $15 an hour would be inadmissible in the Senate stimulus bill under reconciliation, after that decision, Senate Finance Chair Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, and Senate Budget Chair Bernie Sanders had said that they would instead seek to add tax penalties on large corporations that do not pay at least $15 an hour, an idea viewed as less likely to be struck down by the parliamentarian and still helpful to some minimum wage workers. You're not going to reach every single business and every American worker, but you're still going to reach these big, large corporations by imposing these taxes and tax penalties if they do not pay $15 an hour. But now senior Democrats, including Senator Wyden and Senator Bernie Sanders, are now walking away from that backup effort as well, according to two people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to share the internal discussion. So they are not going to be pursuing that idea anymore. Economists and tax experts had said that the tax outlined by Sanders and Wyden could be easily avoided and difficult to implement, with corporations able to reclassify workers as contractors to avoid the potential penalties. So essentially, the big corporations and businesses can find a workaround, a loophole around having to pay them $15 an hour, so it wouldn't work anyways. And according to a former Obama administration economist, Jason Furman, he had said on Twitter, quote, "I would be extremely nervous about trying out a brand new idea like this with virtually no vetting." Wyden and Sanders were expected to face a tremendous uphill battle in attempting to convince the entire Senate caucus to support and approve of an idea that they have just days to draft. And the White House doesn't even support and hasn't even talked about the idea of a tax penalty anyways. So it's not surprising that the $15 an hour provision will not ultimately end up in the stimulus bill, but it could surely still be introduced in separate legislation later this year, and we could see then if the Biden administration would support an idea like a corporate tax penalty. It's not going to be in the stimulus bill, but do still watch out for it, and we know that people like Bernie Sanders are going to be fighting like hell, fighting like tooth and nail to still preserve $15 an hour. So now that Democratic lawmakers have thrown in the towel on including a minimum wage increase one way or another in the next stimulus package, when could this package actually be passed now that we have overcome this challenge? So far, the House of Representatives, the lower chamber of Congress, passed the American Rescue Plan Saturday morning by a 219 to 212 vote, hours after going through the House Rules Committee. The bill will now be sent over to the Senate for consideration, but the timeline for the passage there still remains in some question. So when can we expect a potential vote and then ultimately checks to start being distributed? So we know that Democratic lawmakers and President Biden alike have set their sights on that March 14th deadline, as we have reiterated in the past many times. That is, in fact, the deadline in which unemployment benefits will expire for some 11.5 million Americans across the nation. There could still be some changes made, though, before the bill is passed by the Senate. And if there are any changes made, any amendments that were made to the bill, it would then have to be passed back to the House, in which case they would have to vote on it again. And during the first round of stimulus checks back in April of 2020, it took about 2 weeks for the IRS to start distributing those stimulus checks to Americans, and it only took around 1 week after the latest stimulus bill was passed back in December. It took about 1 week in early January for Americans to start receiving $600. The IRS has learned their lesson. They have fixed any glitches and miscellaneous issues associated with the distribution of stimulus checks. And so if the IRS is able to keep up with their current timelines, Americans could start receiving stimulus checks between late March to early April. For example, if the stimulus package is passed by that deadline, that magical day of March 14th, based on previous timelines, the first direct deposits may go out the week of March 22nd in an ideal world. But one particular factor that might complicate the process this time around is the fact that as stimulus checks are going out, the IRS is also receiving tax returns, and so that could delay things this time. Now, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't pay your taxes. Of course, do your due diligence as an American citizen, but the fact is that millions and millions of Americans, if they're sending in their tax returns, the IRS is going to have to deal with the influx as well as the distribution of stimulus checks as well, so that could definitely slow down the process. And millions of Americans are also going to be in for a rude awakening when they find out that they actually have to pay taxes on their unemployment benefits. Many Americans received thousands and thousands of dollars in unemployment benefits throughout the years of 2020 and now 2021. And yes, it is taxable income. So if you didn't know that, hopefully this is your wake-up call. The current timeline of late March to early April is actually in line with what most experts and political strategists and analysts had previously predicted when Biden first introduced his stimulus package in early January. So we're actually on time and making good progress based on these analyst predictions. This is all despite the fact that Biden had said that $2,000 stimulus checks would first start to go out right out the door the second he stepped into office. And not only are they not received yet, but they're also not $2,000. They're $1,400 stimulus checks. Do remain patient. We have waited this long. We can wait a few weeks more, I would imagine. but stimulus checks will come and the bill will be ultimately passed. More developments and updates are to come. The news is constantly changing, and we'll have even more progress being made this week, as we could see a Senate vote as early as this coming week. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure that you do smash the like button. I would greatly appreciate that. Make sure you are subscribed, click that big red button, click that notification bell as well, turn notifications on. And as always, if you'd like to get some free stocks, all on me, all free, use my links down below in the description when you sign with Robinhood and or Webull. You'll actually get some free stocks, all on me, all in the house. You can get them valued up to sometimes thousands of dollars in some instances, and you can get more free stocks when you refer your friends and family. So unlimited free stocks for you, all free. Use my links down below in the description of this video. I do look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.